Welcome to Behind the Ticker. I'm Brad Roth, Chief Investment Officer of Thor Financial Technologies and Portfolio Manager of THLV, the Thor Low Volatility ETF. Behind the Ticker uncovers the inner workings of the ETF industry. We will interview portfolio managers and ETF service providers to dive deep into their work lives and their businesses. We will learn the inner workings of their strategies and what drives them as they continue to grow their company. Many of these individuals are entrepreneurs and will have unique and compelling insights to share as much goes on behind the ticker. Please note, nothing in this show is investment advice, and it is meant solely for educational and entertainment purposes only. Welcome to Behind the Ticker. It feels good to be back. And we start off season 2 with a big one. We have Todd Rosenbluth. He is from VettaFi, and we are talking all things the Exchange ETF conference down in Miami. There are a handful of wonderful sessions, great speakers. We talk about the ETF community as a whole. Todd is very dialed in on all things ETF. So I hope that you all find this episode insightful. And if you're listening to this prior to the Exchange ETF conference, I look forward to seeing a lot of you down there. So without further ado, Mr. Todd Rosenbluth. Hey, Todd, welcome to the show.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, Brad.
So before we get started, can you just give everybody a little bit about your background and how you eventually ended up at VettaFi in your current role?
Sure. So I guess I'm a 20 plus year industry veteran. I started my career as a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley, then went to go do research at Value Line initially, and then went to what is now S&P Global. S&P, I was on the non-index, non-credit rating side of the business, covering individual stocks. And an opportunity came about to move into ETF and mutual fund research and build a research platform, which I did over 10 years ago. And while I was there, the business I was a part of got sold to an independent research company called CFRA. And then just under 2 years ago, in March of 2022, I joined what is now VettaFi. At the time, it was ETF Trends, an ETF database, but it was about to be renamed as VettaFi. And as I'm sure some of your listeners know, but if not, VettaFi actually just got acquired by the TMX Group, a global firm that's based in Canada. So we are now TMX VettaFi.
Yeah, and I saw that. Congratulations. I'm sure that opened you guys up for to do bigger and better things, even though you guys already have a great business over there. And we'll talk about some of the products offerings that you have over there. But before we get into the nitty gritty, I always like to ask, when you're not working, what kind of hobbies do you have? What do you do for fun when you're not at your desk?
Yeah, I'm a big sports fan. I'm a University of Michigan graduate. Go Blue! They just won the football national championship. But I'm big into other sports as well. I play sports and coach my son's Little League team, and we are a sports enthusiastic family based here in New York. So lots of things related to that. And I have a 4-year-old dog named Coco that is a good chunk of my exercise with her, and she might run into the room at some point for the listeners to get to hear who she is. But so try to stay rounded outside of work and balance work and life, and very much a big believer in that.
Yeah, no, that's great, and congratulations on the win. I was actually rooting for Michigan, so I mean we don't have any good team. I'm in Pittsburgh. We don't have any good college football teams. Pitt hasn't been relevant for a very long time, so I got to choose to root for others. But congratulations on that. And again, before we get into it, I have to ask personally, how relieved are you that the spot Bitcoin race is now over? I know you were, as well as others, are kind of front and center on breaking all that news. It kind of felt like an NFL trade deadline. So are you happy that you've slowed down from that a little bit?
I am. I'm happy that we're able to talk about things beyond when and whether or not it will be approved, and then what will happen when it gets approved. And I know we're going to talk about the Exchange conference, but for the last few months when the tea leaves were lined up, that this felt like it was going to happen, I kept pointing to we expected this by February. We'd have multiple products that were trading by February. We were, I guess, slightly less realistic that all of these products would come out days after, or actually the day after the SEC approved it. But it's great. It's great for the industry. It's a sign that the ETFs remain a go-to vehicle to get exposure, and we're seeing great trading and great flows. But there are 3,000 other products that people should be paying attention to. In some cases, are paying attention to, and it's in the best interest of my readers of my content that I write about something else besides a Bitcoin ETF, because at the most it's going to make up reasonably a couple of basis points. A couple of percentage points of their portfolio, and there's other products to consider.
Yeah, no, I was following everything on Twitter, and it just seemed like it was a roller coaster ride. So if I were in your shoes, I'd probably be relieved that it's over and stop having to write about it all day every day or tweet about it all day every day. So, but anyways, let's pivot over to VettaFi. Can you talk about VettaFi's business specifically around how they can help and how they assist ETF issuers and the types of products and services they have?
Yeah, so we like to refer to ourselves as an ETF services company. So our goal is to educate the financial advisors as part of a community, and our efforts to do so include webcasts that I help to moderate some of. We do a handful of webcasts each week. So in the case of helping an asset manager, it's helping them to educate advisors, bring advisors to come hear their story, and we help to moderate the conversation and discussion and bring an audience, but bring in a educated and engaged audience for folks to listen to. We also have lots of content that's educational on our website at ETF Trends and ETF Database. And we have some partnerships where we help educate about the lineup of products from an objective, independent perspective, but we're writing about individual strategy or chunks of strategies, whether it's actively managed products or it's fixed income products, or smart beta products or various thematic products overall. And then we also have lots of data. We're well aware of who's visiting our platform on ETF Trends and ETF Database. We're well aware who attends our webcast, and we've connected the dots. So we can help an asset manager understand the from a top-down perspective, the trends that we're seeing on our platform as to what is topical and what is not topical in terms of marketing and product development efforts, but also on a bottom-up basis. We have an understanding of, after somebody went to one of our virtual events, our webcasts, what did they do? Did they go look at your product, or did they go look at a competing product because they got up to speed on the trend, but they went to the biggest player in the space or the cheapest player in the space, or your product, which might likely not be that. And then the fourth leg of that, so just going back to it, virtual events, content, data. The fourth one is the Exchange conference, where we're going to have more than 100 asset management partners down in Miami, Florida, with us in about a month's time, 3 weeks' time. Excuse me. Sorry, Brad.
So let's talk about Exchange then. It's coming here in a few short weeks, and I want to say, quite honestly, it's the best conference of the year. I was there last year, and you guys did an exceptional job, really bringing everybody together. It's extremely well run, so congratulations on that. But what was the original idea around Exchange, and how do you go kind of fulfilling the mission of what Exchange is trying to accomplish?
Yeah, so we're, again, going back to what VettaFi's overall goal is to transform financial services into a community. One of the best ways of doing that is to bring people together all in one place, and about 2,000 of them we expect for this Exchange conference, and let them share ideas. So they will, at this upcoming conference, get to hear from industry experts from a macro perspective, from what's going on in the markets perspective. We are in an election year, and what's happening, what the outlook is for the election, both at the national level and going further down. But we've also brought in, we've added more to the conference to meet advisors' objectives. with some best practices. We bring in Carson Coaching, which is going to have 3 hours of training for financial advisors. We've got up to 10 hours of continuing education credit. I'm part of some of that. We've got professionals that are more qualified to talk about certain trends in terms of leadership. And then, of course, I'm an ETF guy, you're an ETF guy. There'll be lots of ETF content as well. We've got some key partners that'll be up on stage talking about various trends in the marketplace, fixed income, equity, and yes, we'll even have a spot Bitcoin conversation as well because it's still the topic of the first quarter of the year. So I'm really excited about it. I'm excited you're going to be there, and I'm confident many of our listeners are going to do so as well.
So just staying on that point in terms of trend, what do you think is kind of the next big thing coming to the ETF marketplace in 2024? Are we going to continue to see, or do you believe we'll continue to see this trend towards active or, SMA conversions into ETF? What is on your radar for the next kind of advance of the ETF industry?
So yes, I do expect that we're going to see continued growth of actively managed ETFs. It was a great year for actively managed ETFs in terms of flows in 2023. I think it was roughly a quarter of the overall money that came in. It certainly was from a product development standpoint. I think, depending upon how you classify an ETF, more than half, in fact, I think close to 3/4 of the new ETFs that came to market are actively managed, and there's some caveats there. The buffer-oriented ETFs that are defined outcome that keep coming out on a monthly basis or variations of those are actively managed because of the use of options. But we're really excited what we're seeing. Morgan Stanley is going to be expanding their lineup. This year, we've seen success out of firms like T. Rowe Price and Capital Group in 2023 with their lineup expansion. Dimensional Funds and JP Morgan are the leaders in active management. So I think the established providers of the mutual fund world are further going to focus on the ETF marketplace. And then, yes, we had a big conversion last week. An SMA converted, I think it was over $700 million of money into an ETF. I think that trend is going to continue. ETFs are the vehicle of choice. It's just much more tax efficient to run such a strategy. And so I think that's one of the trends to keep watching on in 2024.
Yeah, that's great. And so back to Exchange, I believe you said there's going to be about 2,000 people there. It was definitely busy, and everybody who was, in the industry and around the industry and advisors were there. If you're an advisor attending Exchange, what do you think they should be doing to kind of make the most and best use of their time while they're there?
Yeah, well, first of all, if you're an advisor that is registered, if you're an advisor that's not yet registered for Exchange, we very much encourage you to do so. Obviously, that's part of what it is, but it's actually quite affordable for advisors. They are, the goal for us is to educate them, and we've got partners to help support the effort. Our agenda is up on our website. Of course, take a look at it and see what sessions that you find interesting. We're going to be running two tracks part of the time. Sometimes it's going to be just one main stage speaker. In some cases, it's going to be two tracks. One of those is going to be more advisor focused and best practices oriented, whereas the other stage is going to have more industry expertise to help folks think more about the marketplace. But we've also left a lot of time for networking. There's longer than I think most conferences have. There's, I think, an hour and a half to 2 hours for lunch each day so that people can set up their own meetings. They can go visit the booths and get time with the asset managers that they want to, or hang out with and network with their peers if they want to. We've also tried to make this a more engaging conference. It's not just indoors in a conference. So we're doing two community service events, one on Monday and one on Tuesday. The second one on Tuesday is a walk for breast cancer with the Komen Foundation that I'm excited to be a part of and encourage people to sign up for. But honestly, this should be the most productive 3 business days for people in the industry. That's our goal for what it is. And 3 days starting on Sunday ahead of the Super Bowl, we'll have some educational content as well. I find I'm refreshed and exhausted after these conference because you make the most of the time that's there. And so if you're not busy, that's intentional because you've chosen to carve out time. But there's anybody that's connected in the ETF industry or within the advisor community that you want to get some advice from and expertise from is likely to be there.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the case. Almost everybody who's in the industry is sending somebody to be down there. And so you mentioned a couple of the community service events. I think those are really great. As far as the sessions go, what sessions are you most excited about to be offering this year? Anything on the agenda that is going to be a must watch or must attend?
So at the risk of giving a plug for my own session, I'm excited that on Sunday, again, an hour and a half to 2 hours before the Super Bowl will be taking place, so people should still have time and a mindset for it. We're doing an ETF study hall. It's actually a 4-hour event. The first 2 hours is for ethics training. But I'm excited for folks that are wanting to get up to speed. I've got Elizabeth Kashner of FactSet and Eric Balchunas of Bloomberg and Nate Geraci of the ETF Store joining me to do some due diligence tips. We're going to have some information about how to build portfolios using ETFs. We're going to have some trading expertise. And then I'm running a game show that's going to take place on Sunday afternoon, testing the knowledge of some of my colleagues and experts. So I'm excited about that and being a part of that event. But I think we've got some great speakers. Dr. David Kelly of JP Morgan is going to be there. We've got, who else do we have? I think we have Jeff Gunlock. I'm sorry about that. I was trying to remember. We have Jeff Gunlock of DoubleLine slated to be speaking. And then I'm excited because we're going to have a session. Again, my friend Eric Balchunas is going to run a Bitcoin session, and we've got Galaxy and Grayscale and Bitwise on stage together to talk about the trends and the topics, but also, as folks may know, Eric Balchunas, he doesn't shy away from asking a tough question. And so that should be great. And I'm leaving out some of the key sessions that are with asset management partners, but we've got Vanguard talking about fixed income. We've got Invesco and iShares talking about thematic ETFs. We've got State Street doing model portfolios. We've got T. Rowe Price and Morgan Stanley talking about active management. There's lots of great ETF-oriented sessions to attend to.
So, we said there's going to be about 2,000 people here. Do you ever think about the people or the hotel guests that are just staying there on vacation, and then you've got about 75 cabanas at the pool? What do you think there is going on in their heads when they're actually, trying to get some sun and there's a bunch of suits out there in their cabanas passing out pamphlets?
I think they probably feel bad for us, that those people that are in traditional suits and not bathing suits by the pool that are missing out on the enjoyment. I know the conference is in Miami, Florida. I try every day to take at least a 5 or 10 minute pause outside and just breathe the sunshine and the fresh air and remind myself where I am. But yes, we stick out notably at the conference. And because we take a good, it's a huge conference, a huge hotel, the Fontainebleau, but the area is going to be blocked off, so you can't walk through because there's sessions that are going on. So hotel guests have to walk around part of where we are. I'm sure they love that, the extra steps that they get in while they see us there. It's Miami. I remember a couple of years ago where somebody at the hotel asked me for information about the hotel. They were a regular guest. They were dressed in a bathing suit. I was dressed in a suit. I knew nothing about the hotel. I knew where to go at the conference, and I was very much reminded of how out of place I looked compared to how they did for a Monday afternoon in Miami.
So, just a couple more questions about the event itself. It is, as you mentioned, a monstrous event. There are a lot of people there. About how long do you need to be planning for this event in order to make it go off like a hit? Like, are you already working on Exchange 2025? Is the team already thinking about that?
No, I think no, not yet. But so what happened last year? It's easier to go from what worked. We did the event in February 2023. I think we as a team decompressed. We got some feedback from our partners who were there as to what they liked and didn't like, what they wanted to see again and what they didn't, and we were aimed to be responsive. We got together a team of advisors that were willing to talk to us about what they thought worked and what they'd like to see done differently. They formed, or many of them formed, an advisor council that we had for Exchange, and you can go onto our website at exchangeetf.com to see who those folks are. I am confident I'm going to leave out a name or two, and so I don't want to do that. But they helped us, and then we started, I would say, in April, May, to start to build the framework for the conference, start to talk to partners about coming back to the conference to see what they would like to be able to do and how they can help us to build it. And then we started reaching out to potential speakers because if your goal is to get prominent speakers, then you got to line up and lock in their calendar earlier. I mean, I'm available if somebody wants to talk to me much faster. But Amy Walter, who's the editor in chief of Cook Political Report, is probably somebody who's much busier than on a day-to-day basis to talk at an ETF conference or an advisor conference than I am. So yeah, and if folks have feedback, so first of all, I hope everyone that's listening can attend, is able to attend. Please let us know what you think. Share that feedback with us. It'll help us make the better conference for 2025, and there will be one in 2025.
So while we're still in the conference, if you're thinking about attending, you haven't bought tickets yet, it really is a great conference. Where can people go to learn more about the conference, see the agenda, see the speakers, buy tickets, and do everything that they need to do?
So all of that is at a website that's exchangeetf.com. So EXCHANGE ETF.com. You can register. You can certainly see the agenda. I'm looking right now through the wall of speakers, and I'm even more impressed because we've added people's pictures and names that I didn't realize were confirmed. As someone whose last name is Rosenbluth, I'm towards the bottom of the list alphabetically, so I have to scroll quite a bit to be able to see all of the great folks that are here. And I'm excited with that it's a diverse lineup of speakers. That was something we were conscious of, to not have. I know this is an audio medium and not a video one, but that there are more people on stage that don't look like me is a good thing for the community that we're trying to bring together. So shout out to people who look like anybody within this space, because every voice should be heard. And so I'm really excited about that. You can only have so much control of that, but I'm excited as I look through this wall of relative diversity from my perspective.
That's great. So before I let you go, just a couple more, ETF related questions. And you had mentioned, trying to bring this community together, and there seems to be, at least from my perspective, a pretty big sense of community around the ETF industry. I mean, everybody seems to be really wonderful people, and they facilitate a lot of collaboration with one another. What do you think it is about the ETF community in general that kind of fosters this level of collaboration? And it seems to be people really want to help each other and are able to offer each other advice or recommendations. What is it about this community you think that facilitates that?
Yeah. So first of all, let me wholeheartedly echo the sentiment that's there. I'm a recovering stock analyst. Back in the day, I covered tech and telecom stocks for 15 years. I would barely say hello, and more importantly, people would barely say hello to me. There were other analysts covering AT&T and Cisco and and Verizon. It just was not a community. You just didn't talk to people. You didn't show up early before an event and expect to get much out of that, because everything seemed to be so proprietary. So it was enlightening to me when I came over over 10 years ago to the ETF space and realized this was collaborative, that the pie grows when everybody is, not everybody has to support one another, but it isn't necessarily a dog-eat-dog world and a zero-sum game. And we've seen that at VettaFi. I mentioned, we talked about crypto when these products launched. The day after the products launched, we were fortunate enough to host a virtual symposium, a cryptocurrency symposium. We had 8 different asset managers join us on various panels. So there were 2 folks, and it was extremely collaborative. Their goal was to educate about, in that case, crypto. In other cases, it's been other topics, as opposed to selling against one another's products. And so that was enlightening to me. And so we're going to find that at Exchange as well. We're going to have 2 different asset managers, often on stage, talking and collaborating with one another. Why was the original question you have? I think it's the people that are part of it. I think it's the structure that's set up that we're continuing to grow. I know you're an ETF community, and you have guests that on a regular basis that offer other ETFs, because your goal is to help educate the listener about the products that are out there. I find that once we get people embracing ETFs, people being investors embracing ETFs, they're more likely to buy a second and a third and a fourth and a fifth ETF. And so we all win when there's greater education in the community. You got me at a good spot.
So last question before I let you go. Yeah, no, great. I mean, it's true, right? I went to when I went to the Exchange conference last year, right? The charity aspect, and I think one day you guys are there's like a beach cleanup, right? And people go and they want to socialize, and they're super friendly, and they're not there to kind of posture. They're really there because they want to make a difference, and they've made friends with people, and it is a really nice community, and so I think events like this really help push that forward. But before I let you go, you've been in the industry for a very long time. You're in a unique position. You see a lot of new issuers. You see things work. You see things don't work. As you mentioned, I talk to a lot of niche new issuers on the show, just giving them a medium in which to tell their story, their backstory, and talk about their strategy. And I know they would welcome in hearing, any tips or advice from you. If you're a new issuer coming to market, what should they be doing to make sure that the launch not only goes successfully? We have enough people in the industry that really make launches go successfully, but make the product successful. What advice would you give them to get their word out there and get distribution, really, which is the hardest part of this game, and get investors in their product?
So I guess I have 2 answers. One that is hopefully doesn't sound self-serving, but VettaFi, that's what our goal is to do. Our audience is primarily registered investment advisors. So we're more than happy to have listeners that are at a wirehouse brokerage firm, but the reality is they've got home office access, and they also have models that they're often tapping into as opposed to building it themselves. So I very much encourage asset managers that have launched or are planning on launching a product to come talk to us. Again, see if there's something we can do to help you get the word out from our content, from webcasts that we do, from virtual events, from the data that we have. Now, obviously, this is a business, and so it may not work out from a monetary basis initially, but maybe it does over time. And just talk to us. Let's see if we can help. But I will piggyback on what it is that you said. The focus tends to be on the launch and getting word out there on the day of the launch, and that's what coverage happens. And then there's less effort to engage the community to get the word out there on an ongoing basis. So I'm a writer of ETF content that isn't necessarily partner oriented. I have to know about your ETF to decide that I want to write about your ETF and include it in a conversation, or include it on camera, included in a session like this, included in an article. We've got 3,000 plus ETF children to mind and be aware of. I remember some of their names, not all of them. Help us help you by staying in front of the people that are talking about ETFs on a regular basis, because the more we know, the greater the likelihood that we're going to incorporate you in our efforts.
Well, Todd, I really appreciate your insight. I wish you guys all the best of luck with Exchange. I know you don't need it. You guys have done a great job in the past. I know you're going to do a great job this year. I'm excited to be there. Before I let you go, though, where can people learn more about VettaFi and also follow your insights and get the information that you're putting out there on a daily basis?
So I publish research on ETFtrends.com. We at VettaFi have a website, VettaFi.com. Again, the Exchange ETF conference his website is Exchange ETF. And I'm on LinkedIn more than I am on whatever we're calling Twitter these days, but I'm there. And if you want to reach out to me or see the content that we're putting out there, please engage us. We're more than happy to have the conversation.
Well, again, Todd, thank you so much for your time. I'll see you in Miami in a few weeks.
I can't wait. I look forward to shaking your hand in person.